And they're basically just an expression of the idea that you support wolf recovery in Colorado. So if you could, and you have a chance to fill out those postcards, put them in the box that's there, and Defenders will take care of sending those off to Governor Hickenlooper. I'd like to ask our panelists to first introduce themselves and who they are and why you are supporting, working towards wolf recovery in Colorado. Jonathan, why don't you go first?
Sure. Well, thank you for inviting me here tonight. So why? Well, my name is Jonathan Proctor. I work for Defenders of Wildlife. I live in Denver, Colorado. I'm the Rockies and Plains Program Director. So we have a Rockies and Plains region for Defenders of Wildlife. We're based in DC, but we have a small staff in Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado. So we work on a whole variety of imperiled wildlife issues in those states, in those regions. So I moved down from Montana a few years ago to try to start expanding our work down here. But I've been personally involved with a lot of wildlife restoration efforts across that region for about 20 years now, and it's just been a dream job. I absolutely love it. Why am I interested in wolf restoration in Colorado specifically? Well, I'll answer that for the organization I work for, Defenders of Wildlife, and Sierra Club, of course. This works the same for them. Our millions of members of these two organizations across the country, our staff, and I personally value healthy environment, clean air, clean water, abundant wildlife, and for not only for the wildlife, but also for us and for future generations. This is just a basic value that we all share. I'm assuming that's why you're all here in the room tonight. It's a very basic value. And these values are being threatened and have been threatened over time. In the last couple hundred years, we humans have done great damage to those values that we hold for a healthy environment. And it will take we humans to fix the problems we created. And there are solutions. Solutions have been being implemented for decades now. Hunters have been a big part of it, especially in the beginning, of bringing back some of those wildlife species that we once wiped off the majority of this landscape. Elk, deer even, pronghorn, all sorts of species. Lynx recently were restored to Colorado in the 90s. These are solutions that are helping repair the damage that we humans have done in the past, and I absolutely love being a part of seeing the great progress we're making. From bison restoration, we've been working with tribes in Montana, restoring wild bison herds. Wolves in Montana, I was there when the wolf reintroduction started in Yellowstone and central Idaho. The results on the ground are just beautiful and astounding. There's nothing like it. So when we look at this world and all of the problems that we're seeing, and right now there are a lot of threats coming out of DC. I pity my coworkers who live in DC and work on the issues there. But we are lucky here in the West. We are getting to help implement solutions and really restore some incredible landscapes. So that's why I'm here. And I'm sure that's why all of you are here too.
Thank you, John. My name is John Emerick, and as the movie said, I'm an ecologist. I've been studying Colorado ecology for about 50 years. I've spent a lifetime, a professional lifetime, as a professor at Colorado School of Mines in the environmental department there. Can you hear me? Okay. Is this better? All right. You know, it's interesting. I've been all over Colorado and in wildlands all over the state, and I've spent a lot of time in Rocky Mountain National Park, obviously. And back when I started looking at the ecology, studying the ecology of Colorado, I really didn't give a whole lot of thought to the fact that this keystone predator, the gray wolf, was and had been for 30 or 40 3 or 4 decades absent from Colorado. And I guess I was, and I have to admit that I didn't have very much understanding about what the role of a major predator like that really was, other than to, kill things. And I really had very little appreciation for how wolves actually functioned in the ecosystems. And about when I actually started going to Rocky Mountain National Park, and I was doing a lot of teaching up in Rocky and doing a lot of writing about Rocky Mountain National Park. And I started that in the late 70s. And at that point, Rocky's ecosystems were still in very good shape, and it was everything that the park was created to be, which was an example of southern Rocky Mountain ecosystems for the world to view. And then as time went on, I began to notice a lot of changes, particularly to the willow and aspen ecosystems in Rocky. And I saw the disappearance of a lot of the songbirds that I was in the habit of observing at favorite birding spots in the park. And I saw the disappearance of beavers, and I saw the effects of lowering of water tables. It's interesting that that all came to a peak in about 1995, about the same time that things were happening in Yellowstone. And there are a lot of parallels between Rocky Mountain National Park and other places in Colorado, by the way. I don't mean to talk exclusively about Rocky, but a lot of parallels in many places where there historically have been high elk populations. And as I started to read about what had happened in Yellowstone, or what was happening as a result of wolf reintroductions, and especially what's happened since in the last 20 years, I've come to the realization, kind of like a light going off in my brain. Hey, this is so common sense about what we need to do, I think, to bring balance back to Colorado's ecosystem. I think that there are a lot of lessons that can be learned, that have been learned through reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone and to other areas in that area. And I think that I would hope that we would take those lessons with an open mind and consider those lessons as we consider wolf reintroduction to Colorado.
Thank you, Delia. My name is Shepard Hopgood, and I have a rather mundane background compared to these scientific fellows. There's no doubt about it. I'm the resident hunter here tonight, and I love it. And I think I got this spot by default, because Delia normally asks other people, but here I am.
I can't think of a better hunter to have.
Well, thank you very much. So, my background. I have kind of a rural background, a mixture of rural and urban, so I came to hunting because of my rural friends when I was a boy. Everybody started to talk about hunting around the end of August and September. It sounded exciting to me, even though I was an urban guy. I lived in Pittsburgh and places back east, even Denver for a while. And I wanted to do it, and I wanted to get into hunting in the worst way. So I did. But I've got a BA in anthropology. I was a stockbroker for 12, 13 years. It has nothing to do with anthropology. I sold airplanes for a couple of years. Generally, I just had a good time. Finally, I retired too early and became an over-the-road truck driver for a while. So I might say one of the saddest things I've ever seen in my life happened about 45 years ago. I was out for a nice hike around Durango, up a creek. I've forgotten the name of the creek. But I stumbled upon a little herd of 8 elk, and they were in a little depression. And they were all wasting away. They had, the rib cages were showing. They didn't even try to get up and run away from me. I stood from here to you, and they just stayed there. And I worked for the Forest Service part-time at the time, and they said, well, we've just got too many elk in this area. There's not enough feed, so all kinds are dying like that. But not to leave you with a sad story, one of the most uplifting things I ever saw was when I was in the big truck, and I was headed south through Muddy Gap, Wyoming, in a bad snowstorm. And through the mist, in front of me came a wolf, a lone wolf just loping across. It was magnificent, just a lone wolf just loping across the road. And it disappeared into the mist. And, you know, it was twice as big as a coyote, I think. It was unmistakable. So it was very uplifting for me. And that's kind of why I got into